Hey there, Danielle Matthews here. I'm coming to you live from Florida. And if you are new to my content, just know that Mondays are book club day, and that is what you are tuning into right now. For those of you that don't know me, I am an entrepreneur. I absolutely love teaching people how to understand their inner dimensions, master their inner world so they can have success in their businesses, in their professional life. So I work with Asea Redox, a health technology. I also have a program called Inner Management Mastery where I help people do exactly that, master their inner worlds. So on Mondays, we always do book club. I think that understanding some basic spiritual principles and rules of life, like we are not taught them. So I've picked books. We've done Wayne Dyer books. We're now in an Eckhart Tolle book. And the book that we're in the middle of right now, we're on chapter 8 actually, is The Power of Now. If you have not read up to this point with us, it's okay. Each chapter is kind of standalone. The discussions are standalone. And if you find value in this, of course, share it. Tag a friend in this. And for those of you that are a part of book club, let me know when you arrive. Let me know that you're here. This week, we are talking about enlightened relationships. So I wrote all over this chapter, man. I was like, what, this, that? Wow, he nailed it. So this is a conversation I don't think we have a lot of. I think most people are in relationships that are unhealthy. They turn into love-hate relationships, and there's this polarity of things. And he says, true love has no polarity. True love just is. There is no opposite to true love. But romantic love seems to have friction that comes in. And because people don't understand their own inner worlds and their inner dynamics and their own mind, they get into crazy situations in relationships. So hopefully we can help everybody get out of those situations and create, as he calls them, enlightened relationships, which I loved. So book clubbers, are you here? Hey, Angela, I see you. Glad that you're here. Those of you that are joining me on Facebook, make sure you let me know when you're here. And if you're coming in late, just fast forward to where we are now so that there's no lag. All right, first question. He really kicked this off where someone was basically asking Eckhart Tolle, I thought achieving enlightenment, being able to connect with love, hey, Karen, the only way to do it is through a relationship. And it's interesting because I've never had that thought. I always thought enlightenment was something within, but I guess a lot of people, hey, Michelle, a lot of people believe that it's through a relationship. And I am curious, has anyone else thought this? That in order to be whole, I have to have a relationship with another? Just put a 1 in the chat if you've thought that. Put a 2 if you're like, no, not me. This concept had not crossed my mind. I understand that a lot of us are driven to want another, right? They're our second half, right? We say it all the time in society, in our culture. So, okay. Yeah, some have not. All right. Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I was like, it didn't ring true to me, but I guess some people wonder it. And out of curiosity, those of you in book club, yeah, Angela's saying, I don't wonder it, but others have said it to me. Yeah. Why don't you, let's do this. Put a 1 if you're single. Put a 2 if you're in a relationship. And then it'll be interesting as we discuss this, because some of us currently have a relationship we can look at, and others of us can think about what we want a relationship to look like. So 1, what did I say? Oh, I forget what I said. Did I say 1 if you're not and 2 if you are? Oh, Lord. Yeah, 1 if you're not, 2 if you are. 1 if you're not, 2 if you are. 1 if you're not, 2 if you are. Okay, so married 49 years. Wow, Lou, way to go. Okay, so lots of you in relationships over here. Some of us not in relationships over here. Perfect. We've got a mixture, which I like. 18 years, nice. 18 years of marriage. Well, you're doing something right, and I have a feeling you're about to be able to figure out how to do even more right. So basically, he's asking this question, and he's saying most people pursue physical pleasures or various forms of psychological gratification because they believe that those things will make them happy, will make them free from the fears and the lack and all these feelings they have internally. This is why we have so much entertainment in our society, right? It's because people think that, when I have this, when I do this, I feel better. This is why people drink. This is why people, I live in Florida. There's amusement parks an hour and a half from me, and they are flooded with people. Why? Entertainment. This temporary bliss. And he points out, he says, invariably, any of this satisfaction obtained is short-lived. All right? And this is what happens in relationships, right? We seek a relationship because we believe it's going to make us whole. But he says, and this is just like so incredible, he's really giving insight into how the mind works, all right? And talking about how our mind, and our mind is just a program. It's just programmed from our past experiences. It's programmed from what society, culture tells us, what our families have told us. And the mind believes when I obtain this or that, or when I am free of this thing, then I'll be okay. Then I'll be whole. All right. And it's this unconscious mindset that creates an illusion that salvation is in our future, that freedom from all this icky feeling comes in the future. And what Eckhart Tolle says is true salvation is fulfillment, peace. It's knowing that life is full. He says it is to be who you are, to feel within you the good that has no opposite, the joy of being that depends on nothing outside of yourself. Can you imagine feeling that way? Just joyful for being, dependent on nothing outside of you. Just because you are who you are, you got to wake up today, there is joy. Right? That's enlightenment. That is a beautiful feeling. And he says this is to know God. It's to know that it's not something outside of yourself, but it is your innermost essence. Right? How would you like to live that way? I'm like, high five, I'm in. Put a 5 in the chat if that's how you want to be. And he's in the chapter, he's talking about this, and he's talking about how we temporarily use relationships to feel this, but it doesn't get us there, right? It totally doesn't get us there. So he says, true salvation is a state where you are free from fear, free from suffering, free from perceived lack, from wanting, from needing, from grasping, from clinging, from compulsive thinking, from negativity. Fear from all past, all future is gone. You are free of it. And he says, the mind makes you think that you have to sort things out, that you have to do something, that you have to achieve something, that you have to acquire something, that you have to become someone, right? The mind makes us think that that is the only way to get those things. And what he says is that, and I love, my spiritual teacher says this all the time, people search in the world. They try to become, they try to achieve, they try to accomplish, they try to get, thinking that this is the answer because that's what the mind has told us, because that's what society has programmed us with. And what he says is none of that is true. You're never going to get there. The only way to do it is to turn within. And I love, my teacher says, people spend their whole lives seeking, going to pilgrimages, going to places, going to temples, seeking, looking in this external world, thinking that the answer is out there. I just need to do this. I just need to have this. I just need to go there. I just need to meet this person. And then I'll be whole. And then I'll be okay. And the truth is, all you ever need to do is just turn around. You can look out there, you'll never find the answer. You can spend your whole life looking, and most of us do. But if you just turn around, if you just go within, this God essence is within you, is what he's saying. He says, the truth is, the here and now is the only point where you can get there. And you get there by realizing that you are already there. You find God in the moment that you realize you don't need to seek God, that it is within you. How powerful. And he says, so for those of you that are single and those of you in relationships, he says, it doesn't matter if you have a relationship. You can be single and find this. You can be in a relationship and find this, because relationships are one of those things we seek in the external world, thinking it's making us whole. Because sometimes temporarily it does feel like it does. But it doesn't last. It doesn't last. So the first point of the whole chapter was a relationship is not needed. So for all of you single people out there, you're okay. You can still get this connection. You can still find peace. You can access it through the now. For those of you in relationships, stop expecting the other to get you there, right? Is what he says. Just stop and start to understand how relationships tend to unfold when we're in our ego mind, right? Because the mind is searching for wholeness, and the mind lasers onto somebody and goes, you made me feel good. You have what I'm looking for. I want you all the time in my life. Love feels good, right? And we think it's the love that we're searching for, right? True love is non-judgmental. It's all allowing. It's the sky, behind all the weather. That's true love. Romantic love, though, is when our mind lasers in on someone and is like, you make me feel good. You make me feel blissful. When you do this, I feel this way. And so it's wonderful. And we all have this amazing time, especially in a new relationship, right? There's this what do they call it? The honeymoon phase, where it's like, oh my God, it's amazing, because we think we've accessed that. And to a degree we have, but then inevitably something goes wrong, right? One person does something, one person says something, this person's triggered, that person's triggered. Our mind is like, oh, no, 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 I really want what you have. So you need to fix yourself and get back to doing things this way. It's wild. I'm getting ahead of myself, but I just loved how he laid it out so clearly in this book. He talks about love-hate relationships. And so he says, it seems that most love relationships become love-hate relationships. And those of you in relationships, maybe you're like, oh, shoot. Yeah, this is true. He says, in our society, this is considered normal, that the relationship starts to oscillate, right? And it goes between two polarities, love and hate. And what gives you as much pleasure as this relationship does, that nothing else ever has, it also causes you the most pain. And he says most people, this drama helps them feel alive, and they love it. And that's why they love the relationship, and that's why they keep it going. It's this addiction to drama. And he says ultimately, and I thought this was really interesting, ultimately the balance between these polarities, right? Because sometimes it's like, well, does the good outweigh the bad? Do I stay? Do I go? Oh, they're so wonderful. Well, this is just one flaw. Can I live with it? Right? There's this whole thing between the polarities, right? Hopefully you're finding yourself as you were reading this going, oh, shoot, I do that. So he says, when a balance between the positive and the negative polarities is lost, and the negative, destructive cycle occurs more with increased frequency and intensity, this is when, sooner or later, the relationship will end. It will finally collapse. And it appears to us that, well, if we just got rid of the negative side, if we could just get back to how it was at the beginning, right? If we could just move through these difficult things, right? These things you're doing that I don't like, whatever it might be, then we're going to be okay. And what he says is, no, that's not true. The polarity is actually needed. The polarity is actually needed. He said the polarities are mutually interdependent. You have to have the polarity. Super interesting. Put a 1 in the chat if you found that interesting. I thought, wow, because I think it is like a misconception that most people think in relationships like, oh, we just need to get rid of the bad stuff, and keep the good stuff, and then it's a good relationship. And it's like, no, the polarity is necessary. Fascinating, right? The polarity is necessary. Nice. Fritz agrees. Angela does. And he says, when you are in love with your partner, let me get this. For those of you joining me, I'm on page 124. He says this love can feel so intense because like the whole rest of the world fades away. And he says, you notice that what happens, and maybe you've seen this, I think young love, maybe we see this more, right? Think about the first time you fell in love. And maybe you're still with the first person you fell in love with. But the first time you fall in love, you're like in this blissful state. And then all of a sudden, you notice there's like this neediness, almost this clinginess that starts to happen where the ego's like, I like this. You make me feel good. And it's like, when you're around, I feel great. When you're not around, I don't feel great. And so this interesting dynamic starts to come. And you're high when you're with them. And if the relationship stops or if they do something, you crash, and your lows are lower than they've ever been because you experienced such a high, and you're like, what's possible, and that they had delivered that to you, right? You felt it was them, and now they didn't, or the relationship ended, or something occurred that was not okay, and boom, you crash. And it's because your mind had clung to it. He says, where's the love now? Can love change into its opposite in an instant? Was it love in the first place, or was it just an addictive grasping and clinging? Like, dang, this is a powerful question for those of you in relationships. It's a powerful question, right? What is this truly? And it's like, it's so interesting because the ego got what it wanted. The ego it felt that filled feeling. It felt what it thought love was. It felt what it's been seeking in this external world all along. And turns out, because it was dependent on something in form, because it was dependent on something external to you, it's not the real thing. Wild. Yeah. Lou says, you may feel like you're dancing, then like musical chairs, the music stops. Yeah, there's like this beautiful flow when things start, and then all of a sudden something happens, and it's like, and yeah, Beautiful music to nothing. It's intense. It is really intense. And he says, we get addiction in the search for wholeness. So there's this concept, it's called avidya. For those of you in inner management mastery, you know this is one of the kleshas. Avidya means you've forgotten, right? If we think about the example that Eckhart Tolle talks about this, and I think the yogis explain it really well, it's like the ocean and the wave. So source, the divine, the unmanifest, comes into the manifest. It comes into the world of form by becoming a wave, right? And our body is that wave, right? We are an instrument of the divine. We are the unmanifested made manifested. But we forget this, right? We totally forget this. And this is like the kind of like almost like original sin, right? We've forgotten, it's the original pain point, this piece of separation. We've forgotten who we are. We've forgotten where we came from. And so we feel like something's missing. We feel like something's off. We feel like I came here for more. There's more purpose. Like something, I need something more in my life. This is a feeling like that every human being has, and it might show up differently for you than me, but we all have this like inner like seeking. And so our mind, not knowing any better, trying to fix this problem, goes out into the world trying to fix it, trying to make us feel whole by achieving things, by getting things, by finding the perfect relationship. And the relationship is the thing that most of us dial into because society supports it. Oh, a man and a woman and have a family and blah, 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 blah. Like this is the way that it's like, put out there. And so not to say anything's bad with a relationship, but if we're seeking it because we're thinking it's the thing that will make us whole, well, we are setting ourselves up for a problem, right? And you're going to get addicted to something that's not going to help you, is essentially what he's sharing in this chapter. And he says it is an almost irresistible urge for union with the opposite energy polarity. The root of this physical urge is a spiritual one. It is the longing for the end to duality and to the return to the state of wholeness. Because when you come into form, let me see if I have this. I do. So when we come into form, we have this polarity that exists in this world. And when we start choosing different things, it turns into duality. And what he's saying is there's this urge, right? Because you're either a man or you are a woman, and you are half, right? You can't be both. Okay? You can't be both. You are one or you are the other. And what he's saying is that there is this urge for union because we feel that that's the thing that's going to bring us back to wholeness. Because when we're together, there is oneness. And what we're wanting in this life, remember, because the wave came into form, it's forgotten that it's part of the ocean. It thinks it's just a wave, and it's like, man, it's rough out here. It's rough up here. And so it's seeking that union again. It's seeking wholeness. And one of the ways we do it is to find another. So we become whole again. And that's why there's such an urge for this. It's such an intrinsic urge because we're trying to resolve this duality that we're experiencing. All right. Michelle says, absolutely. Even when we know this, we still fall into the trap of chasing what we like. Yeah, it's the desire to be one with God. It is. Like, this is the thing that you're going for. If you're trying to achieve in business, all of these things, most of us are trying to fix this piece that feels broken inside, that feels empty. We're trying to fill the void. And if you just know that you are whole and you know that you are the ocean, it fills the void automatically. That's the power of now. That's what he's talking about. And then in a relationship and in work and in life, of course you can go out there and achieve. Of course you can go out there and express. Of course you can go out there and have a relationship. But you know that it's not the thing that's going to fill you. You're not dependent on those things to feel whole. You're already whole. You're just being your beautiful expression as you. How source is, manifesting through you. That's what we're trying to get to. But he says, as long as you are identified with the mind, you have an externally derived sense of self. That it says, you get your sense of who you are from the things that ultimately have nothing to do with who you are, like your role in society, like your possessions, like your external appearance, like your successes, your failures, your belief system, your relationship. He says this is false. It's mind-made self. It's the ego, all right? And it's always seeking new things to identify with to give it a feeling that it exists. But nothing is ever enough to give it that lasting fulfillment. Nothing will ever make it whole because you can't in the world of form. The wave can't know its wholeness until it realizes it's the ocean. Like it's deep stuff. This whole like relationship stuff, I was like, oh, I didn't know we were going here. And who's had this? I mean, who has felt like, no, I had that relationship come into my life? He says literally, the relationship comes along and it seems to be all of the answer to all of the ego's problems, right? All of a sudden, all our needs are met. And it's like everything else fades. This is all that's important. I think like people's first love, first true love. I think that's like, boom, it happens. And then, if that doesn't work out, we go seeking it in someone else. But this is what he talks about, and it's tricky, but the world feels like it has a center point now when you're in a relationship, right? And it starts to make sense, and you condense in on this, but it also can create a lot of trouble, a ton of trouble. I think this is why we see so much divorce, is because people are putting onto another too much. They're expecting too much. They're expecting another to do something that the other can never do, right? Which is to teach you how to be whole. All right. So he says, if in your relationship you experience both love and the opposite of love, attack, emotional violence, and so on, then it is likely that you are confusing ego attachment and addictive clinging with love. You cannot love your partner one moment and attack him or her the next. True love has no opposite. Whew. I was like, oh man, that is self-reflective. Like, put a mirror up to the relationship that you're in. Michelle says, but actually the relationship helps us to figure out our obstacles to enlightenment and gives us work to get there. Yes, absolutely it does. If you can look at your relationship as that and realizing that, oh, okay, it's not that I hate the other. It is that my partner has now triggered something inside of me. They've created, as I call it, a weather pattern that has unveiled something inside of me, and now I can work on that. And because our partner is around us the most, it's making the most weather for us, we can get triggered a lot. And a lot of times this is this love-hate relationship, that we see in a lot of couples. But when you have this inner awareness and you realize what's going on, you're like, oh no, this is a beautiful playground for inner development. Being in a relationship. He even says this. He says, avoidance of relationships in an attempt to avoid this pain is not the answer either. He says 3 failed relationships in as many years is more likely to force you into awakening than 3 years on a desert island or shut away in a room by yourself, right? Because, as Michelle just so beautifully said, your partner triggers things inside of you. Your partner creates the weather pattern. Your partner unveils things to you. Yes, they're your mirror, right? You start to see your own stuff through them, and you're like, oh, dang. I didn't realize that I had this control issue, or I didn't realize that, I always don't feel good enough, or I didn't realize that, I don't feel like people hear me enough. And so you're blaming the partner, but what I want you to see is it's not your partner. Your partner just made the weather that allowed something within you to sprout up, we'll say, all right? And it's profound. When you can look at a relationship like that, you'll get out of the love-hate cycle because you can just be all loving. And in fact, you'll be even more grateful for them because those difficult times, those difficult moments were actually beautiful things for your evolution and for your awareness. Yeah, Marie says so true. Hey, Tina. All right. But people are afraid to go inward, right? Most of the time, we focus our attention outward because we're afraid to go inward. And relationships bring up our stuff. And I'd say that's why most get unstable and they get rocky, because after that beautiful honeymoon phase, stuff gets real. There's 4 people in a relationship. There's you and your past and all your stuff that could get triggered. And then there's them and their past and all their stuff that could get triggered. So there's 4 of you in the relationship. And in any given moment, that past can come up and it can cause a lot of problems. All right. Michelle says, I see this with people who trigger me. Yeah, you've got your past hanging around. And so you're like, okay, the trigger is the teacher, right? A lot of gratitude to your partner for triggering you, because it's amazing that they do that. All right. So he says, from addictive to enlightened relationships. I feel like we just arrived there on our own, but let's see what Eckhart Tolle has to say about it. He says, number 1, start with you. Number 1, start with you. For love to flourish, the light of your presence needs to be strong enough so that you no longer get taken over by the thinker or the pain body and make a mistake thinking that that's who you are, right? And the way to do that is all the ways that he's shared with us, right? And we talked about that, I think, last week, silence and space, all these things to connect in with the divine within. Right? That's the way to do it. And he says the second thing, and guys, this is probably the most important thing from the entire chapter. With your other, the greatest catalyst for change in a relationship is complete acceptance of your partner, just as he or she is, without needing to judge or change them in any way. That's the essence. He says, number one, deal with you. Connect yourself, go inward. That's the ticket. But number two is to just accept the other. Be the sky. No matter what they do. No judgment. You're all allowing. It just is. They will feel the love. Because that's what everybody's seeking. They want that space, right? They want that. All right. Can it be that simple? Yes. Yes, it can be that simple. I love this. Page 128. Love is a state of being. Your love is not outside. It is deep within you. You can never lose it, and it can never leave you. You can be that at any time. You can be that sky at any time. And he says, you can then feel the same life deep within every human and every other creature. You look beyond the veil of form and separation. This is the realization of oneness. This is love. Right? Have you heard people say we're all connected? What is meant by that is we're all the ocean. Everything is expressing as a wave. The trees, the butterflies, my dog, the plants, you, me. We're all actually the same essence, right? We're all made of clay. If you like that example, right? The bowl, the figurine, everything's made of clay. We're all clay. We're all one thing. And he says, once you realize this, you're going to have a deep, deep love for every creature. And I loved this. He said, what is God? The eternal one life underneath all the forms of life. And what is love? It is to feel the presence of that one life deep within yourself and within all creatures. It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful for you to be able to look out at others and all you see is the divine within them, right? Look at every creature, look at everything in nature and just see this is the divine made manifest. And he says, when you do that, you're connected in with love. That's how you experience love, is knowing that you're one. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And he says, love is not selective, right? He says, just like the sun shines on everything and everyone, love shines on everything and everyone. Yep, namaste, exactly. The light in me honors and sees the light in you. That's exactly what that's about. It's a beautiful greeting. A beautiful greeting. And can you imagine a world where we're all living like that? Like, that's the world I want to be in. In fact, my phone, I don't know, I can't show you because I'm on my phone on Instagram, but my phone, that's what I have as my, what is it called? Screensaver. It just says, see the divine in everyone. Because how many times do I look at my phone? Throughout the day. Click, click, click. What time is it? What's going on? It beeps, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's the world I want to live in. And so that's what I remind myself to do all the time. And that's what I see in each of you. That is what I see in nature as I go on my walks in the morning. And it is like, wow, the feeling is just like completeness. Like you just feel whole and complete and everything's wonderful. Everybody can have that. And it's not dependent on your partner. It has nothing to do with your partner, in fact. That's really the essence of this. So any questions? I mean, this was like a bit different than what the chapters up to this point have been like. And I guess to finish out this chapter, we'll finish out chapter 8 this next week. So that takes us to page 145. So yeah, because chapter 9 starts on page 147. So from page 130 to page 145, we'll read this next week. Yeah, the return of heaven on earth. Exactly, Michelle. Exactly. When we know that we know, and we act in that way. So, great conversation. I hope that this was insightful. For those of you in a relationship, I hope that number 1, you continue to work on you. And then number 2, you just accept the other. And for those of you not in a relationship, I would say you are in lots of relationships at work, with your family, everything. This goes to everything. It will make you amazing at business. Let me tell you, for those business owners out there, if you can just be all allowing, non-judgmental, totally accept everyone that comes across your path, things will light up. The trust bond will build like that. It's quick. It's very quick. Lou says, thanks, teacher. You're welcome. So I love that we do this on Mondays. I hope you can take this into the week and that you have a beautiful week. We'll stay connected on Telegram. If you're not on Telegram, just reach out. I can get you the link. And as always, guys, if this was valuable, share it to your page, tag somebody that needs to hear this, and allow for this awareness to be there for all of us, right? Because we're all connected. So the more awareness, the better life is. So lots of love. Namaste, as Lou so beautifully said. And I'll talk with all you guys soon.